Hello, everyone. I can see we're 170 participants already. I would like to welcome you all, welcome participants, viewers and speakers alike, to this introductory event for 2.0, a renewed partnership on the horizon Europe. As you see here, the event will last until 11:30. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Verena Wagenhofer. I am with AVL and I will be guiding us a little bit through this event today. I would like to thank you all for taking the time to join us and for your continued interest in the 2.0 partnership overall. I would also like to say a big thank you to Lucie Beaumel for the organizational work behind this meeting. So I kindly ask all of the participants to at all times make sure that your microphones are muted. And please note that this meeting is being recorded and that the recording will be available on YouTube afterwards. Also, there is no need to take screenshots or similar because the presentations you will see in a couple of minutes will be accessible on the EGVIA website and will also be shared by email with the participants after the event. So if you agree, let's have a quick look at the agenda. Because we faced some technical issues at the beginning of the meeting, we will actually start with Stephan Neugebauer with 2.0 as a building block to accelerate the transition to zero-emission road mobility. We will follow with 2.0 in the research ecosystem. We will hear a little something about the strategic research and innovation agenda, the backbone of the partnership. We will learn how to get involved, if we're not already involved, just to get a good overview of the soon-to-be launched partnership. Now, if you agree, let's dive right into 2.0 as a building block to accelerate the transition to zero-emission road mobility, given to us by Stephan Neugebauer. Stephan is the Director of Global Research Cooperation at BMW. He is ERTRAG Chairman and also EGVIA Chairman. Stephan, thank you for being here. And the stage, or better, the screen, is yours.
Thank you very much, Verena. Thank you very much. You heard about the technical issues which avoids Rosalinde van der Vlies from the European Commission at the moment to join this panel. Hopefully these technical issues will be solved. But I think we should start with this meeting with the big picture. And probably Rosalinde would start with the European Green Deal and the plans from the Commission for the climate neutral continent of Europe. And you all are well aware about this Green Deal. And this is a fundamental change for all sectors in Europe, for the whole society, and in specific for road transport. So for our sector, for road transport, it is without doubt the biggest transformation in history of road transport. And when we are talking about road transport, this seems not to be very sexy. But when we are talking about mobility, then it is clear for all of us that mobility is needed in our modern society, in our social life. And we missed the mobility in the last year in the Corona pandemic very, very much. And this makes clear that without mobility, we cannot have our freedom in society and our economic and social welfare. So we have to make this transformation of road transport, respecting that this sector is one of the most important sector in our economic situation in Europe, providing jobs and growth and international competitiveness. It is one of the most important industrial sector, and it's absolutely clear that for this transformation, we need to generate a system approach. It is not only the vehicle itself and the powertrain of the vehicle. Of course, this is something very, very important, and we need to work on the efficiency improvement of the vehicles, and we need to work on the powertrains of the vehicle. We want to achieve the net zero carbon emission in road transport, and we want to achieve the zero impact or near to zero impact emissions in road transport. And for doing so, we need to improve the vehicle, but in line with the vehicle development, we have to build up and to improve the infrastructure. Why is this so important? Look, when we are talking about battery electric vehicle, no one will buy such a vehicle if there's no possibility to charge this vehicle. And so the infrastructure for charging for electromobility is at least has the same level of importance than the vehicle itself. And the same is for hydrogen. If you do not have a filling station for hydrogen, you will not buy and you will not use a fuel cell hydrogen vehicle. So it was from the very beginning clear that for this transformation, we need to create the system approach, the vehicle, the infrastructure, and the energy sector, because the energy sector is also important. If the electricity you are using for your battery electric vehicle is not coming from renewable sources, if it is still coming from fossil sources, this does not make any sense. This does not make any sense. The same for hydrogen. So the energy sector is also very important, and these three aspects, they have to be covered by such a partnership: the vehicle, the infrastructure, and the energy sector. So we have really big challenge, and we need a lot of financial resources to create this change. And the European Commission, we are very happy that the European Commission at least created this Towards Zero partnership. The research budget, the funding from the European Commission will be around about 625 million euros. This seems to be a lot, but at the end, it isn't a lot. Why? Just give me an example, just to make a comparison. When I compare this amount of money from the European Commission for this partnership for 7 years for the transformation towards zero emission in road transport, this amount of money is something like 10% of the annual research budget from my company. And as you know, my company BMW is a small vehicle manufacturer. So if you compare it with the research budget from the private side, covering all the stakeholders on the private side, the vehicle manufacturers, the suppliers, the SMEs, you can see that this money is less than 1 per mil of the budget, which is needed and spent on the transformation of road transport. But on the other side, this partnership makes a lot of sense. This makes really a lot of sense. And my dear colleague, Jean-Luc Paola Galloni from the board will tell you and give you a lot of arguments why partnership, this European partnership, makes sense, even if the budget is very, very small in comparison with the private investments. So when we look at our activities of this partnership, we always have in focus the technological development. We are not a political partnership. We are not creating ideologies or something concerning the regulation, but we want to develop technical solutions for the benefit of the European citizens to keep the mobility, in a sustainable and healthy way. Therefore, we are very happy to have a strong partner with the European Commission to create this common vision and to create the plan how to achieve this by technical measures. So Towards Zero will for sure contribute to achieve the policy objectives defined by the European Commission by providing the solutions which are needed. And this will at least increase also the competitiveness of the European society. So for this partnership, it is very much needed that we keep all the different players on board, and Jean-Luc will speak about this. We need all these industrial players, we need the private players, we need the research institutes, we need the research providers, the SMEs, the suppliers. We need all the contributors on board. But, you know, we need, first of all, the private sector on board, because they, at the end, will provide the needed resources for the transformation of road transport, as I explained before. So to keep the private side on board is the most important thing for me. And therefore, it is important that we create a partnership and a system which has a low level of administration. And we need to be sure that the reporting is not, the reporting does not need more capacity than the work on the technical development itself. So really a lean and low level of administration is needed to keep the private sector on board. And this is an issue we are still working on. So how the Towards Zero partnership will put us on track in 2030 to achieve climate neutral road transport by 2050. 2050, the goal is clear. And in 2030, it is an important intermediate step. And with this partnership, we want to accelerate the research, the innovation and development thanks to collaborative research, because no one of the stakeholders is able to do all the needed innovation based on its own capacity, based on its own knowledge. We need to bring all this knowledge together. And therefore we set objectives for the Towards Zero partnership for 2030, because it's a key timeline. To be climate neutral in 2050, we need to achieve objectives in 2030, because it always needs a long time from research, from pre-competitive research collaboration to innovation, to development for the serious production, for market introduction, and then for the uptake in the market. This is a long time period. So therefore, 2030 is very important for us. We need the contribution of the various stakeholders, and we one absolutely new point in this Towards Zero partnership is the involvement of the member states. And from the private side, we have always been very open for better involvement of the member states, maximizing the synergies and the coordination between the European program, the national programs, and some regional programs. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me come to an end. We, as technical people, we as engineers, we know that we are quite aware about the challenge for decarbonization of road transport. And we know that this challenge needs different solutions, technical solutions. There is not the one and only way. We need different solutions. For sure, we need the battery electric vehicle. For sure, we will need the fuel cell hydrogen vehicles. For sure, we will need some solutions for the existing fleet. Therefore, we will need renewable fuels for the existing fuel fleet. We have nice concepts with highly electrified plug-in hybrids. There are some interesting developments for hydrogen direct combustion. So what we need is a competition between different technologies, because competition at the end is always pushing innovation. So we need this competition not only between companies and players, we need this competition also between technologies. The Towards Zero partnership is focused on two specific technologies: the battery electric vehicle and the fuel cell hydrogen using vehicle. So this is a strong contribution. The Towards Zero partnership is focusing on in the funding on these zero emission technologies. This is a good step and a strong push for our community. So we are happy to work together with the Commission on pushing these technologies, but having in mind that there are different solutions also needed and also very attractive for the 100% decarbonization of road transport in 2050. And I'm very optimistic that we in Europe, we have the capacity and we have the knowledge and they have the best position to achieve this using technical innovation. Technical innovation is better than restrictions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephan, for this great introduction, for this great overview. Now, let me just quickly check. For our first presentation, we plan to have Rosalinde to the speech on 2.0 in the research ecosystem, given to us by Jean-Luc di Paola Galloni. Jean-Luc is the Group Corporate Vice President in Sustainable Development and External Affairs at Valeo and EGVIA Vice Chairman. Jean-Luc, thank you for being here. And the stage is yours. Jean-Luc, I think you might be muted as well. No, okay, fine.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, so very good morning to every one of you. And yeah, indeed, what I want to focus today is the 2.0 partnership that has very well been described by Stephan, that also I salute, in the research ecosystem. First of all, you know, a first illustration of the importance of the ecosystem. Today I am in Graz myself, in Styria in Austria, and I participated to a first physical event where the presenters were also engaging the different decarbonization, I would say, initiatives under the hat, indeed, of the Green Deal and European Commission, with the clusters here present in Styria, and also the smart cities in Graz. So this is, I would say, a very concrete illustration and I also presented a few slides on our engagement into zero with all the different stakeholders. And this is to give a very clear example that despite, I would say, the pandemic and the beginning of opening, we need to privilege these, I would say, concrete and face-to-face workshops and meetings together. So first of all, in the first layer of the research ecosystem, I would emphasize the fact that zero as a public-private partnership is indeed, I would say, functioning together with many other initiatives that are parallel, that are, I would say, concrete continuation of what zero is doing. As Stephan said it very clearly, zero is focusing on battery electric vehicle solutions related and on hydrogen and fuel cell, and with an accent indeed on long distance on trucks. Clearly, this aims to bring a cooperation with these so-called parallel or continuity devoted partnerships that Europe is setting up. One is clearly related to the initiatives on battery, and there is the so-called BEPA, B-E-P-A, that is also a partnership around, I would say, all the optimization phases and the recycling of the battery system. As you know, it is a key component of the electrification. And whether what kind of battery system we will use to decarbonize, there has to be, I would say, many research innovative projects around this, I would say, essential ecosystem around this component. So indeed, there will be links between BEPA and zero. For example, if I take something that I know well, according to my company, we are not a battery producer, but for example, we are in battery management system. So indeed, what is the thermal stability system, whether if you take the example of BEV or what you will need in thermal management also for fuel cell with a stable temperature, well, indeed, BEPA will be an interesting cousin, if I may call, to zero in a continuation of that. Let me take another example of initiative link between zero and that we know very well in AirTrack, because AirTrack was committed to give the founding, I would say, pillars and stones of this initiative. It is also CCAM, the Cooperative Connected Automated Mobility, CPPP, exactly like zero, but very large, devoted to safety and connectivity and automation. And engineers know very well that there will be some links between the axis of electrification and the axis of connectivity, safety, and automation. And so there will be also there, I would say, this parent CPPP that is in the ecosystem of zero. Now, if I take another different type of I would say, research partnership under what we call joint undertaking and technical joint undertaking. Already when our CPPP was called EGVIA, European Green Vehicle Initiative, there were some links established with Excel, which is this GU, this joint undertaking, which is devoted to electronic components and systems, to the nano-micro world, then the smart systems, and the embedded and meshed system related really to the software. This Excel, through, you know, it will be signed soon through the Single Basic Act, will give birth officially by the end of the year to the successor of Excel, which also will change name, but it is the continuation of that field in electronics, which is called Key Digital Technology, or in acronym KDT. Why is it so important to zero as a connected relationship, as continuity in institutional partnership? Well, because indeed, you know that one of the, I would say, strategic layers of electrification is indeed around power electronics. And power electronics will be more and more important within the deliverable of the electric, I would say, package of powertrain. And to develop power electronics, indeed, software companies, OEMs, the whole automotive value chain will need this strategic relationship to found the good link with semiconductor industry. It's particularly sensitive right now, as you have heard of the semiconductor crisis and shortage that we have. So we absolutely need to make sure that the components and systems that are that will be present in the electrification are well studied, are well researched together with the main semiconductor players such as Infineon, STMicro, or NXP, but also with their related, I would say, research foundries, fabs ahead of them, with players that are also public or private, such as CEA, Centre d'Énergie Atomique, which is, as you know, one of the biggest RTOs in Europe, but also IMEC or ASML. So this whole ecosystem is going to be extremely important in, I would say, bringing the right systems for what are the needs of 2.0. And indeed, there will be a link from this KDT, which was already existing in Excel, the so-called Lighthouses initiative, to make sure that what the electronics value chain is bringing into the system is devoted to what mobility in road transportation needs to fasten up electrification. So we will make sure here in 2.0 that what is prepared in collaborative innovative research in KDT will belong to KDT, and that there won't be, I would say, any doubling of the research projects on what is only the perimeter of 2.0, devoted much more on PEV and fuel cell. So these are a few examples of ecosystems. We can also mention, in some cases, when we go through massive production, also ecosystems related to smart manufacturing, or to some aspects, remote aspects also, the initiatives around photonics that normally should also re-enter through KDT. But these are, I think, the three examples I have quoted are the most related ones in the European Commission systems of 2.0. But there is more. There is more essentially and institutionally. It is 2.0 a European partnership, a collaborative public-private partnership at European level, as Stephan entered really in the good details of that. And on the other hand, it is important that we understand that 2.0 should also nurture some national or regional initiatives that are also, I would say, promoted or replicated by, I would say, the European hat, whether they are public or private. What do I mean by that? It means that we will welcome and we will check the links and the kind of different affiliate initiatives that national countries will bring in the field of electrification, whether it is through BEVs or fuel cell. And this is very important. This is why in 2.0 we always wanted, and we will continue to do so. We will actually have a first session at the end of this week with our Polish colleagues to disseminate what 2.0 is doing as, first of all, European initiative open to all member state institutions, whether public or private, whatever their sizes. And as you know, with a strong attention given on the cooperation between large groups and SMEs and spin-off of laboratories and universities. But indeed, we will also want to, if you allow me the word, to evangelize, to do a work of evangelization on national initiatives at smaller scale, where we will promote that the same kind of trend should be deployed in countries. And here we have a very historical, for example, initiative that took actually the same kind of names. For example, if I take the example of Spain, where out of what EGVIA was, they call it EGVIA Spain. And the National Research Agency belonging to the Ministry of Economics replicated at a national scale what the European CPP could do. And we will welcome very much this kind of initiative. We will also welcome initiatives coming from research clusters and research cooperation at national level. For example, if I change country again, if I take the French example of initiatives coming from entities like Moveo or VDCom, and these will be very much welcome to interact and be part in different possible links with 2.0. And indeed, we are strong believer from our own corporate side, if I summarize with Stephan, myself, and also the representative of Infineon, to give a large scale of corporations that are present in 2.0 and in EGVIA association. We are very keen on taking a sort of European citizenship of this partnership and deploying and maximizing the links with those national initiatives coming at a smaller scale, and to engage them and to embark them in several potential links with 2.0, and clearly to maximize their participation in the initiative. We did it already for European Green Vehicle Initiative, and we will want to maximize it even more with 2.0. So we are confident on that because we have many members. As you know, we are very happy to have more than 80 plus different kind of members and different types of institution. I can tell you, and Stephan and Lucie know it, I am very keen on bringing really an openness and a balance of a representation. We have cared that even through the, I would say, the way we are structured inside the association of the beneficiaries supporting 2.0. And indeed, it's because we are European entities and that we share the challenges ahead of us to support the Green Deal and decarbonize road transport, that we will absolutely take care to make sure that we can maximize wherever possible, and particularly, let's put it that way, in countries where road mobility players, whether if they are industrial or research oriented, might be slightly weaker or more invisible, let's put it also that way, than in other countries where the representation is massive. So we will try to rebalance as much as we can and bring the interest in a value chain, in a multi-stakeholder approach, which will bring also the technological and, as Stephan would put it, engineering deliverables of our research. And this is extremely important because even if some countries don't have a strong presence of automotive industry, it is absolutely open that with their engineering capabilities, with their labs, with their research institution, they can be embarked in a value chain and multi-stakeholder approach around 2.0 projects through their clusters, through their ecosystem. This is really how we want to enrich and bring this multi-dimensional research around our continent, and to bring, I would say, also an effective power of balance in the regions where this is possible. So I hope that I have convinced that to you that the 2.0 goes beyond its just limited perimeter of members, but it's really an open partnership to muscle up, to really enhance research ecosystem for a better and a completely decarbonized road mobility. And I stop here with my, I would say, chat, and I'm open for questions or remarks you may have.
Thank you very much, Jean-Luc, for this excellent point you made. So I think we have all noticed by now that even though, you know, partnerships and initiatives all have their own very clearly defined focus areas, there will be the need for continuous collaboration. There will be the need for us to see the connection, the correlation between all these. And I think you made that very clear. Thank you very much. All right. If we manage, let's try it another time. Let's see if we manage to get Rosalinde. Rosalinde van der Vlies is the director of the Clean Planet Directorate in the European Commission's Directorate General for Research and Innovation. Rosalinde, thank you for being here. Very happy that we managed to have the connection. And you're up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Verena. I'm not sure you can see me.
No, but we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, that's already great, because eventually I connected as a participant. So that's why I was already joining you before, but I could not unmute myself.
Okay.
So if somebody can also turn on my webcam, that would be great. Otherwise, I will just start speaking. Yeah, first of all, again, my apologies for all these technical issues. But I'm really pleased to be here with you now. And actually, it was also a great opportunity for me to having been able to listen to Stephan and Jean-Luc, who already were extremely inspirational. So I will focus a bit on the policy context and the priorities for the European Commission. I think by now you all know about the European Green Deal and the fact that we have set ourselves the ambition to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And of course, this comes with a lot of specific targets. We have agreed to a 55% reduction target of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And for us in the European Commission, this Green Deal has been really instrumental to really focus the efforts of all the colleagues working in the different Commission services. And I think it has really helped us also to work even more better together. And I think this is also something that that Stephan and Jean-Luc also underlined for the partnership, that, you know, if we really want to achieve these ambitious targets, that the business as usual is basically no longer an option. We really need to change the way we have been operating in the past, and only by joining forces together, we can meet these ambitious targets. And what I think is important is that the European Green Deal, it's not only about greenhouse gas emission reductions, but it's also a new growth strategy for Europe. And it's really the way that we see Europe recovering from the crisis, and that we need to go to a twin green and digital transition and rebuild or build back a greener, fairer, and more resilient society. So on the one hand, this is really about the emission reduction, but on the other hand, it's also about creating jobs, boosting innovation, and finally, and I think this is also very important, it is really to demonstrate the added value that we have by collaborating at EU level for our citizens. So we have very clearly, of course, for the mobility sector, a major challenge in order to contribute to the European Green Deal. And of course, the Commission has set more specific targets for the mobility sector in our sustainable and smart mobility strategy. And there, I think the targets that are set are quite telling, and you're all familiar with it. But a key milestone, of course, will be to have over 30 million zero-emission vehicles on our European roads by 2030. And I think the good thing about that is that it gives really a very clear target also for the 2-0 partnership. And I think what is extremely important is that we will be able to communicate once we kick off with the partnership on a regular basis on the progress that we are making towards achieving these objectives. And with Horizon Europe, we will, of course, invest 615 million euros in this partnership from our side in the next 7 years. I think it is really important to underline that with Horizon Europe, we have the biggest EU framework program for research and innovation ever. In total, we have 95.5 billion euros for the next 7 years. And the key novelties of Horizon Europe, our new program, is that we really have this impact-based approach, which means that we need to clearly demonstrate how our research and innovation activities are contributing to the overall policy objectives. So in particular, for the 2-0 partnership, it will be to demonstrate how the activities of the partnership are delivering on the key milestone of having these 30 million zero-emission vehicles ready on our European roads by 2030. And I think, and Stephan already mentioned, and I liked it a lot, where he said we need a competition between different technologies. And I fully agree with that. I think, as I said before, business as usual is no longer an option. We need to make sure that whatever we do now, whatever we do now will be crucial to see whether we will meet the target for 2030. So we need to make sure that we invest in the right and winning technologies in order to deliver this. And what I think is also very important is that we are also looking beyond the technological innovation aspects and beyond the electrification of the vehicles itself, but that the partnership will take a more system-based approach, also linking the technological innovations to the wider context, the infrastructure that will be needed, the grid, the supporting services. And I think that is indeed extremely important to deliver on our common agenda. So I'm very happy and encouraged to hear already the identified synergies that Jean-Luc spoke about with other partnerships and other activities in Horizon Europe, because I think this is, of course, very clear that the partnerships alone will not meet the ambitious challenges we have. And there, I think it will be very important also to communicate about this, because when we started with Horizon Europe and the new approach to the partnerships, the synergies between the partnerships was also identified as a strategic challenge for the new programming period. And I think the 2-0 partnership can already be extremely proud with the progress that has been made in order to really identify those synergies and working together with other partnerships and other initiatives. I was also very encouraged by the words of Jean-Luc, also mentioning the fact that we need also to reach out to the national systems. I couldn't agree more, and I like the reference to the fact that he mentioned that we are a bit like evangelists, so we are like preaching and going out and try to find also our allies at the national and regional level. And indeed, if we have a common agenda, a common strategic research and innovation agenda, we can also avoid that we double the research efforts. So I think it is a very, very important way forward, and I'm very encouraged to hear that this is taken up and already advancing really well. So apart from research and innovation, which of course is clear to deliver on our challenges, research and innovation alone is not enough. We need to make sure that the solutions that will be developed will actually reach the market and are taken up by the market. And therefore, we are very committed to help and support a comprehensive framework and a comprehensive policy also at European level to also then stimulate the demand. Yeah, so I was talking about the fact that, you know, we do not only need the research and innovation, but it's also important that we actually bring those solutions to the market, and that, you know, we are very committed to develop a comprehensive policy to stimulate the demand for the zero-emission vehicles. And in our smart and sustainable mobility strategy, we set the aim to have 1,000 hydrogen stations and 3 million public charging points by 2030. So I think this is also a very important point, that, you know, we are really here committed not only to develop the solutions, but then also to make sure that they are actually taken up in practice. And there, I think also the partnership can be very instrumental in providing us information on potential bottlenecks that may exist at policy level that we can then also tackle within the European Commission. So, I mean, I fully agree. I want to conclude by saying that, you know, as I said before, business as usual is not an option. We need to work together, and we need to also work together much more than in the past, you know, beyond the remit of the partnership, also working together with other partnerships, with the national level, the regional level. And I also am very convinced that we need to demonstrate the added value of the partnership throughout the lifetime of the partnership. So we shouldn't wait until 2030 and then to say, okay, this is where we are. Now we have delivered on the zero-emission vehicles and we have met our target in 2030. I believe it will be extremely important to communicate on a regular basis and to show the progress that we are making towards achieving those ambitious objectives. And there I fully agree with Stephan. Of course, we should not put unnecessary reporting burden on the private sector, but at the same time, I do believe it is important that we have the necessary elements to communicate also to the outside world on the progress that the partnership will be making in the months and years to come towards the sustainable mobility. Let me finally conclude by making a bit of publicity for the European Research and Innovation Days. This edition of this year will take place on the 23rd and 24th of June. It will mark the official launch of Horizon Europe, and it will also focus very much on working together in the European research area. So again, I would like to invite you to join this event. It will still be fully virtual, but I think it's very important to be there because it will also be a great opportunity to network, to talk to researchers, entrepreneurs, citizens, and to really also see how the activities of the partnership can join up forces with activities of other players, so that we can make sure that we put European road transport on the right track for the future. So I will stop here. I hope it was somehow comprehensible, and I'm really sorry again for the technical issues. And hopefully next time we will also be able to see each other, be it virtually or maybe even in real life. So thank you very much, and I stop here.
Thank you very much, Rosalinde. That worked just perfectly. Now we are going to hear a little something about the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda from Thilo Bein. Thilo is Head of Knowledge Management at the Fraunhofer LBF where he is responsible for all publicly funded research and strategic research planning. He is also 2-0 vice chairman. Thilo?
Okay,
You're
thanks
up.
a lot, Verena. I hope you can hear me and hope you can see me. Also, good morning from my side. We already heard quite a lot on the need for the 2-0 partnership, how it plays into the research ecosystem, and also what are the overall objectives of the 2-0 partnership. I now would like to introduce to you the strategic research and innovation agenda, which we elaborated over the last year. Next slide, please. So what actually is this strategic research innovation agenda? It's basically the guiding document for the implementation of the 2-0 partnership. Within this document, which is publicly available, we are defining and detailing the objective of the 2-0 partnership on different levels. On the general level, reaching to a longer term view, down to specific and operational objectives, where we are looking into what we want to achieve in course of the partnership. We also provide so-called key performance indicator, which allows us to monitor and evaluate the 2-0 partnership to continuously check if we reach our goals and our objectives. And more important is that we are also defining and prioritizing the research and innovation activities which are needed to reach our objectives. So these research and innovation activities defined in the SRIA are the basis for defining and elaborating the goals of the Cluster 5 work program. So they are not yet published, but the drafts are circulating, and you already see the first goals related to the 2-0 partnership. This SRIA document, as I said, has been elaborated over the last year jointly by more than 500 stakeholders. So it's an open, transparent process where more than 100 partners already directly involved in the 2-0 partnership contributed to the targets, to the definition of the research activities. This document will be updated regularly, so it's not a static document. It will be reviewed every 2 years, more or less, and then adapted to the findings of the individual project. Next slide. So what do we want to achieve? You heard already by Stephan on Jean-Luc and Rosalinde some of the overall objectives. Of course, we would like to contribute to the transformation of our road transport system towards carbon neutrality. But we also want to gain the technology leadership and ensure the European competitiveness, which are also targets of the Horizon Europe program. And we also would like to improve the health and the quality of the life of the European citizens. In doing so, we define research innovation activities along 4 focal areas, the so-called 2-0 pillars. On the one hand side, we are looking into vehicle technologies down to the propulsion systems. We are looking into the integration of the vehicles into the energy system and the charging infrastructure. We are looking into innovative concepts for the mobility of people and goods. And we are looking into the life cycle assessment, circular economy approaches. These 4 pillars already indicate that we are considering a system approach. So we are not looking only on vehicle technologies, but we are looking how the vehicle is interacting with the road transport system. And this is also a step forward, which is quite important to achieve the goals defined by the Green Deal and defined by Horizon Europe. Next slide. So basically, within the 2-0 partnership, we are focusing on zero tailpipe emission solutions. On the one hand side, we are looking to battery electric vehicles. There is a strong link with the battery partnership as well. On the other side, we are looking into fuel cell electric vehicles, where we are focusing mostly on heavy duty vehicles. And there's also a link to the clean hydrogen partnership. So you always should keep in mind that these type of vehicles are in the focus of the 2.0 partnership. And the focus is then also how these vehicles are interacting in our transport, with our transport system. Next slide. Let's have a brief look into the details of the different pillars. As I said, we have one pillar addressing the vehicle technologies and vehicle propulsion solution. Here we defined two clusters. One cluster is looking into advanced vehicle concepts. Here we propose research and innovation activities related to conceptual vehicle design, keeping in mind the full transport system, looking to zero-emission heavy-duty vehicles, but also the interior, energy-efficient and user-centric interiors will become important also with a link to the connected and automated vehicles. We continue with advanced lightweight design solution, many also in view of the circular economy approaches, but also we need enabling technologies like digitalization, design tools, and so on. The second cluster is then focusing on the drivetrain and control strategies for battery electric vehicles and fuel cell electric vehicles. Here we're looking into the control of the vehicle operations, the powertrain modularity and the integration into the vehicle, but also the integration of the battery system. Quite important will be the thermal management and the charging systems. Besides these two clusters, we defined further key R&I action related to tire, brakes, and safety aspects. The next two focal areas, the next two pillars, are addressing more the interaction with the transport system. So we do need innovation activities looking into the integration of the battery electric vehicle into the energy system and the related charging infrastructure. So there are activities defined, particularly addressing the charging infrastructure, the system approach of battery-based electric e-mobility, also boosting system approach through smart and bilateral charging. So this is a key aspect, so that how can the vehicle integrated in the charging structure in both ways. We addressing fast high power charging and also looking into the connectivity, battery electric vehicle connectivity to achieve the system approach. Next slide. The third pillar is then looking into solution and concepts and services for the zero emission mobility of people and goods. So here the logistic and the heavy duty vehicle operations coming into play. So we are looking into zero tailpipe emission vehicle integration into the road mobility and logistics systems, where we elaborate pathways towards zero emissions, looking to connected and shared e-services for people and goods, as well looking into the right sizing of vehicle and the infrastructure requirements according to the user needs and the user usage models. The second approach is then the testing and demonstration of those concepts, where we would like to implement innovative mobility solution in urban, peri-urban and rural areas. And finally, we would like to test and demonstrate concept solution services for the long haul, regional, urban, zero freight transport and logistics. Next slide. Finally, the fourth pillar is then rather unique, and it's also for the first time that there is an emphasis on this research area. It's the life cycle assessment and circular economy, which are quite essential for the European Green Deal. We do see that we need a harmonized approach for the life cycle assessment and also need guidelines for implementing the circular economy into the road transport system. So here we have three main targets to look into data for comparable and reliable assessment. Main issue will be the life cycle inventory database. We do need a consensus on method and tools. We have to implement also the social aspect in our assessment. We must enable our design tools to reflect also circular economy approaches. And all these method tools and also the assessment, transparent and reliable assessment must be demonstrated. So we will assess the different mobility scenarios. We will demonstrate the circular economy strategy, but also the LCA-based mobility concept and scenarios. Next slide. With all these four pillars, we are supporting the European Green Deal. I think from the research and innovation activities defined, it's obvious how we can contribute to the Green Deal. All the four pillars, of course, aiming to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So there will be essential contribution not only by 2030, but reaching beyond 2030, where we enable the vehicles and also the operation of the vehicles towards zero emission. We will reduce the pollutions fully in line with the Green Deal targets, but we are also going supporting the digitalization, the automation of our mobility system. There is the link with the integration of the battery vehicle into the infrastructure, but also with the mobility solutions. And there is also the link to the alternative fuel cars, public recharging. So overall, the 2.0 partnership will be an essential element to reach the objective of the Green Deal, focusing on the road transport. Next slide. As Jean-Luc already indicated, 2.0 partnership is not an activity by its own. It's placed in the research ecosystem in the European research area. It will contribute to the strengths of the European scientific and technology basis. We would like to gain the leadership in certain technologies. We will bring innovation for user-centric, affordable zero tailpipe emission. We will demonstrate innovative use cases towards zero emission road transport, not only on the vehicle side, but also on the infrastructure, as well on the operation of the vehicle. With that, we will also boost the European innovation capacity, the competitiveness, and we will ensure that additional jobs will be created. We are aiming for the technology leadership in road transport zero emission solutions. We will ensure with the innovation we are aiming to bring into the market with, we will ensure the European competitiveness. And of course, which is not mentioned yet, the European funding we are receiving for this 2.0 partnership will be leveraged by in-kind contribution in the same order by all 2.0 partners. So this will boost additionally the investments in jobs, in increasing our competitiveness and also increasing our innovation capacity. And finally, we will also support a transformation towards, let's say, user-centric and environmental friendly society. So we will contribute to the economic model and values defined in the Green Deal, but also in Horizon Europe. Again, we are developing zero tailpipe emission solution for carbon neutral road transport. And hopefully we will also accelerate the acceptance of the zero tailpipe emissions. And we are improving the quality of life of our citizens. And with this, I would like to conclude my talk and would like to thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, Thilo, for this great overview. Now, we move on to the last but not least presentations. Quite a few of our participants probably already know Lucie Beaumel, who joined EGVIA back in 2015. She has since ensured constant links between all association members and the European Commission. Lucie is the director for the private side of the soon-to-be launched 2-0 partnership. Lucie, you're up. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much, Verena, for this introduction. Good morning, everyone. Also from my side, thank you for joining us. And thank you for your patience also, despite the few technical issues we faced during the meeting. I think you can see also from the way we overcome the difficulties that we have a very lean way of working, as Stephan also mentioned. If we can go to the next slide, please. I will be very brief on how to get involved. The objective is not to go in detail into the governance structure of the partnership or the different membership categories that we have. If you want details for this kind of questions or topics, you can come back to me separately by email. I will be happy to provide more information. The message I want to convey to you today is that openness is really at the heart of co-program partnership. As mentioned by the other speakers, we have now almost 100 members in the association, and we extended the SRIA preparation to many stakeholders. In total, I think we counted more than almost 500 contributors. So we really wanted this exercise to be as large as possible, involving all stakeholders that would have interest in the topics that are covered by the 2-0 partnership, so that we could really compile the views of various people coming from different backgrounds, and we could draft all together a research program that would be helpful for everyone. An important aspect is that whether you decide or not to be direct member of the partnership, you can submit a project proposal. You have the same chance of being selected for funding as any other stakeholders, and this is really an open process. So as long as you respect the eligibility criteria of Horizon Europe and that you submit a qualitative proposal, you have all chance to be funded. This is really important. We follow also the rules, the standard rules of Horizon Europe. So the idea is also that it would be very straightforward for stakeholders who are quite familiar with the research program to submit a project in the partnership. An additional point that is important is that most of our activities are open to any stakeholders that would be interesting. Of course, we try to provide as much information to the public as possible. So we organize several events. Some are very specific for some topic. Some are more general, covering the full scope of the partnership. And we are also, of course, contributing to larger events that are covering road transport at large, such as the TRA or the Horizon 2020 RTR conference, an event we started to organize a few years ago to provide information about funded projects, in which, of course, green vehicles in the past and 2-0 future projects will be an important pillar. We will also most likely update the SRIA in the coming years to adjust the document to the latest advancement of the state of the art and future priorities. And again, this will be an open event, an open activity. So we will try to consult at large many stakeholders. So you will have also the opportunity to bring your views and priorities into these discussions. We have also many events organized together with the European Commission, such as the Info Days, during which you can have more information about future topics and information about how to submit proposal, the work program at large, and the rules for participation. I know many of you might wait to get more information on this. We hope that we will be able to provide more detail in beginning of June. For members or stakeholders that would like to be more actively involved and more directly involved, they could always apply for membership in the non-for-profit association that will be engaged with the European Commission in the 2.0 partnership. We have a large basis of stakeholders. We have stakeholders from the industry, we have stakeholders from the research side, from the automotive, but also from the smart system and the energy side. So we really try to have stakeholders in the association representing the different aspects that are covered by the partnership. Any stakeholders that is performing research and innovation in Europe and who is supporting and sharing the objectives of the partnership is entitled to apply for membership in the association. And we would be very happy to have further knowledge and experience and expertise in the association. So if you are interested to be involved, you can also come back to me separately by email. If we can go to the next slide, Verena, please. There you can see that this event is just the beginning of what will be soon the 2.0 partnership. We wanted to give you an overlook of the main challenges that will be tackled by the partnership, what we are aiming at in general terms with this partnership. But of course, we know that many of you will be also interested to better understand what will be the content of the 2.0 partnership. Of course, again, most likely with the future topics to be open for funding, but also with the different research and innovation priorities and challenges we identified during the drafting of the SRIA. And for this, we have decided with the support of the different pillar leaders, who I would like to thank again for their contribution and strong involvement in the past few months. We have decided to have every Tuesday in June, starting from 1st of June, a 1-hour discussion that we will call Get Lunch with 2.0. This will be the opportunity to deep dive into the content of the different pillars of the partnership. Pillars are not independent from each other, of course. As it was mentioned many times, we try to implement really an integrated approach in the 2.0 partnership. We just structure the activities per pillar so that it would ease the work when defining priorities and compiling input from the different stakeholders. And this is also the reason why we decided to structure this Get Lunch with 2.0 events per pillar, just to clarify a little bit for the different stakeholders what will be the focus point for each of these events. But I strongly invite you to join this. This will be really the opportunity to get more information content-wise about the 2.0 partnership. And as mentioned also by Rosalinde, on 23rd and 24th of June, there will be the Research and Innovation Days. And we are expected to sign formally the 2.0 partnership with the European Commission. This will be after almost 1.5 years of hard work and contribution from so many of you. So I just want to take again the opportunity to thank all people who have been extensively involved in the preparation, and again also to thank the European Commission, particularly Guido, for his involvement and the collaborations we had in the past more than a year to prepare this partnership. Thank you very much, Verena.
Thank you very much, Lucie. With this, I'm happy to say that we're quite on time. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this event has been recorded, and the recording will be available on YouTube later. The slides you have seen will be distributed among the participants after the meeting. And if any of you are left with open questions, uncertainties, You can see the contact details on the last slide of the meeting. So we invite you to get in touch if necessary. And then I would just like to say thank you to all our participants, all our speakers for their contributions. And thank you for your time and your interest. And hopefully we'll see each other quite soon. And with this, I would like to close the meeting. Thank you and take care, everyone.